Imagine coming home after weeks away, only to find a train track cutting right through your land, your crops destroyed, your property violated, and the people responsible acting like they did you a favor. That's exactly what happened to me. When my local HOA built a tourist train through my farm without permission, but they had no idea they made a huge mistake because their own headquarters. It turns out it was built on my land. So I did what any reasonable person would do. ... I took it back and donated it to charity. Stick around, because this is a story of revenge, justice, and turning the tables in the most epic way possible. Asterisk, imagine coming home after weeks away, only to find a train track cutting right through, your land, your crops destroyed, your property violated, the people responsible acting like they did you a favor. There are moments in life that leave you speechless, moments so absurd, so beyond reason that your brain refuses to accept. What's right in front of you? That's exactly what happened when I returned home after weeks away, only to find a freshly laid train track slicing through my farmland. My crops were going to flattened, uprooted, and replaced by steel rails and gravel. My fences were torn down, and to top it all off, the people responsible weren't hiding. No, they were standing there, admiring their handiwork, as if they had just built something to be proud of. I was stunned. This land had been in my family for generations, worked on by my grandfather, my father, and now me. Every seed planted, every crop harvested was all the result of backbreaking labor, years of dedication. And yet in the span of a few weeks, it had all been wiped out. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my rage as I approached the group of people gathered near the tracks. One of them, a well-dressed woman with a clipboard, turned to me with a bright, almost rehearsed smile. "Oh, hello, you must be the owner, isn't it wonderful? This new train line is going to bring so much convenience to the community." I felt my stomach twist. Convenience? You think it's convenient that you destroyed my land without my permission? She gave a small, patronizing chuckle. "Oh, don't worry. I've already assessed everything, and we're offering compensation. You'll find that your property value has actually increased because of this improvement." I clenched my fists. Compensation? As if money could make up for the fact that my farm was ruined, that my livelihood had been ripped away from me. Worse, these people genuinely believed they were doing me a favor. They didn't see this as theft. They saw it as progress. That was when I knew I had to fight back. I wasn't just going to let them get away with this. They thought they could. Walk all over me. They were about to learn just how wrong they were, too. You think that's bad? Wait until you hear what the HOA president said when I confronted her about it. The moment I stormed into the HOA office, I could feel their smugness in the air. Everything about this place screamed arrogance, from the polished marble floors to the oversized gold-lettered sign behind the receptionist's desk. They weren't just some small-time neighborhood association. No, they were a corporation, and they acted like one. I didn't even have to say my name before I was led into a conference room. They were expecting me. That's what made it worse. They knew what they had done, and they had prepared for my outrage. Rebecca Winters, the HOA president, was already seated at the long mahogany table, a thin smile playing on her lips. "Ah, Mr. Carter," she said smoothly. "I was wondering when you'd stop by." I dropped the folder I had been carrying onto the table, filled with photos of my destroyed farm. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" snapped. Rebecca didn't even flinch. She took her time flipping through the pictures, nodding slightly. Yes. "It's unfortunate," she murmured. Then she set the folder aside as if it was an afterthought and looked at me with the kind of condescending patience a teacher might have for a slow student. "We're missing the bigger picture." "The bigger picture?" I repeated, incredulous. She leaned forward slightly, lacing her fingers together. "This train line is going to boost property values across the entire neighborhood. It's going to bring in new businesses, more foot traffic, and overall, a higher standard of living for everyone, including you." I felt my blood boil. "Hey, don't want a higher standard of living," I snapped. "I want my farm back." Rebecca sighed dramatically, as if she were dealing with a stubborn child. "We understand your frustration, Mr. Carter, which is why we're offering a generous compensation package. 4. If you think I took that lying down, you don't know me very well. Rebecca Winters and her HOA might have thought they could bulldoze me both, figuratively and literally. But they clearly didn't know who they were dealing with. They expected me to roll over, take the check, and disappear. But that wasn't going to happen. I spent the next few days gathering every piece of information I could. I dug into property laws, eminent domain policies, and past cases where landowners had fought back. I reached out to local farmers, business owners, and homeowners who had been affected by similar developments in the past. The more I learned, the angrier I got. Then I took my fight to the community. At first, people were hesitant to get involved. Many of them had already accepted their payouts, figuring it was easier to move on than to fight. But as I shared my story, how they had destroyed my farm without permission, how they had treated me like I was lucky to be robbed, something shifted. Other landowners started speaking up, telling their own stories of mistreatment. Had been running unchecked for years, quietly making deals with developers while the community paid the price. So, I did what they never expected. I went public. I contacted the local news stations, reached out to journalists, and even started a social media campaign. I posted before and after pictures of my farm, documented every interaction I had with the HOA, and exposed every shady deal I could find. And the response? Overwhelming. People who had never met me before were suddenly on my side, demanding answers. From the HOA, the local government, which had been happy to ignore the situation, was now under pressure to respond. And just like that, people in power started to squirm. 5. The moment I turned the tables on them, everything changed. Once the public got involved, Rebecca Winters and her team had no choice but to respond. What was once a quiet land grab had turned into a full-blown controversy. News crews camped outside HOA meetings, demanding interviews. Angry residents flooded city council meetings, demanding to know why their elected officials had allowed this to happen. Rebecca tried to do damage control. She went on TV, smiling like always, and claimed that the train project was for the greater good. She insisted that I was the unreasonable one, that I was standing in the way of progress. But this time, people weren't buying it. The more they dug into the HOA's dealings, the worse it got for them. Old contracts surfaced, revealing under the table deals with developers. Homeowners, who had been forced to sell at unfair prices, came forward with their own horror stories. Suddenly, Rebecca and her allies weren't just fighting me, they were fighting an entire community that had woken up to their corruption. And then came the lawsuit. With the help of a few good lawyers and donations from outraged citizens, I filed a legal case against the HOA for illegal seizure of property. And I wasn't the only one. Other landowners joined in, turning it into a full-scale class action lawsuit. Rebecca stopped smiling after that. *6. And when the dust settled, let's just say they didn't see it coming. The lawsuit dragged on for months. The HOA tried everything to delay it, burying us in paperwork, making backroom deals, and even offering us better payouts to drop the case. But we held firm. We weren't fighting for money. We were fighting to take back what was ours then. The breaking point came. During a court hearing, one of Rebecca's closest allies, an HOA board member, flipped. Under oath, he admitted that the HOA had been working with developers long before they ever notified property owners. They had deliberately misled us, knowing full well that most people wouldn't have the resources to fight back. The judge wasn't impressed. Within weeks, the entire project was frozen. HOA was ordered to pay massive fines, and multiple board members, Rebecca included, were forced to resign. But the real victory, the land, not only did I get my farm back, but so did several other homeowners who had been illegally forced out. The train company had to completely reroute their construction. The city had no choice but to enforce stricter regulations on future developments. As for Rebecca, well, last I heard, she moved out of town. Apparently it's hard to run an HOA when everyone in the community hates you, and me. I'm still here. My farm is back. My land is mine. And now, people know that when you push hard enough, when you refuse to back down, you can win. So, if you ever find yourself in a fight like this, just remember one thing. the people in power. Only win when you let them. And trust me if they ever try something like this again. They'll know exactly who they're messing with.